You are now watching Survx. Donate or subscribe for more sick twists.
How's it going, everybody? Just doing a quick little video here to talk about some upcoming changes to WarcraftLogs. As I'm sure you've all heard by now, the Gnomish Battle Chicken is going to be banned from the WarcraftLogs. You're no longer going to be able to use it on trash or on bosses, and it's going to invalidate your logs. But before we get into that, I wanted to tell you a quick little story about a guy named Selye. And I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing that name, but this guy, he's a rep paladin, and he is awesome. Like, this guy, a true gentleman. Now, I've been trying to get Stranger Shoulders for a long time, like a really long time, and I wasn't able to get a pair during phase 2. We only got one pair that dropped. It's been a pain, right? And I decided to sign up for a soft reserve because of Valentine's Day, and my guild wasn't going to be able to raid this week on Monday and do tier 5. So everybody in my guild went to soft reserves this week for tier 5 if they needed it. So I decided to sign up for this run, and what did I end up doing is I signed up for this run, and I tried to get in, and they said they were gonna have to bench me because they just had too many melee. And I was like, oh well, you know, it happens, whatever. But then this guy whispered me, Selye, S-L-E-Y-E, he whispers me and he goes, oh dude, you trying to get into this run? He's like, I watch your YouTube channel and it's helped me so much. And this is actually my guild that's hosting the soft reserve run, so if you want to get in, I'll get you in. And I was like, oh, awesome. So he got me into the run, and you know, we killed Hydros, and Strangers dropped, and I was the only person that soft resed him, so I got him. And that would be cool as is. You know, it would be cool if that was the whole story. But then we go to Vash, and Vash drops Belt of 100 Deaths, and he gets it. And I was like, oh my god, like, this guy gets me into his run and gets me Stranger Shoulders, and then I, you know, tell my chat, this guy's awesome, he got me into this run, whatever, he still needs 100 death belt, and my chat was like, oh, we'll pray for him, whatever, and then it dropped, and he got it, and I was like so happy for him. And then we go to Tempest Keep, and the Searing Grips off of Valar drop, and he gets those too, and it was just like, it was a fantastic night for both of us. We finally got a bunch of items that had eluded us for so long. And I just want to give a shout out to that guy because I promised him I would, because he actually got me into that run and helped me get my shoulders, because without him I wouldn't have got them. I wouldn't have got into that run without him, and I wouldn't be wearing them today. So I just wanted to, you know, give him this little bit of, I want to tell you this story and kind of give him a shout out because I promised him I would. He's a great guy, and thanks again, man. Appreciate it. Alright, so as I'm sure most of you guys know already, or if you just read the title of this video, you know that Gnomish Battle Chicken buff, Battle Squawk, isn't going to work on the logs anymore because of a recent change. And I guess I should start at the top and tell you the story of how this came to happen. So, Blizzard employed a hotfix a week ago, or maybe 2 weeks ago by now, where Illidan had this issue where he was enraging too early, and it was because when he spawned in, he was able to use his abilities right away when he's supposed to have cooldowns on his abilities, and it's not supposed to go off for a little bit of time. Now, it turns out when they fixed this, they also broke the guaranteed squawk mechanic, which is where you take damage with the Battle Chicken, and then you pop it right away, and it instantly squawks. And the only reason that worked was because the Battle Squawk buff on the chicken's, you know, abilities wasn't on cooldown, and it was supposed to be. So Blizzard employs this fix for Illidan, and it ends up breaking Battle Chicken, or should I say fixing Battle Chicken, and you can't get a guaranteed squawk anymore, so now it's just RNG. And as a result of this change, people overwhelmingly voted to ban Battle Chicken from the logs. There was actually 2 votes on this on the WarcraftLogs website, and everybody decided, it was like 80% of the people that voted decided to ban Battle Chicken from the logs because they no longer wanted to deal with the RNG. They didn't want to not parse because they didn't get all 5 squawks, basically. They didn't want somebody to get number 1 just because they got 5 squawks because they got lucky, even if they played bad, right? Alright, so starting tomorrow, there's going to be a new partition on the logs, which means a new category for Phase 3.5. This is because of they're doing a number of changes, not just the Battle Chicken, and I just figured we go over all the changes real quick because there's not a whole lot of them, but they are kind of significant. So, first of all, they're banning Battle Chicken, like I said, because of the votes. People overwhelmingly voted to ban Battle Chicken. Now, if you don't care about the logs, then whatever. You can just keep using them. You know, who cares? But if you want to parse, you cannot use Battle Chicken. You cannot get the Battle Squawk on trash or on a boss. If you get the buff, it's going to invalidate your logs. So make sure you're aware of that, because you wouldn't want to scuff your logs just because you want to pop a chicken, right? Okay, so the rest of the changes now, Supremus has this like validity check to work around it being buggy on Blizzard's end. I don't really know a whole lot about that. Maybe somebody can tell me in the comments a little bit more about that change. I'm not really sure what they mean by that, and I've been kind of watching the WarcraftLogs Discord for a while now, trying to track all these changes. They're going to normalize Gurtog Bloodboil's Fel Rage. Now what this means is that when you get Fel Rage, it gives you like 500% damage or something, and they're just going to divide it so that it's back to normal. And this is going to actually cause some issues, because this basically means that if you get the Fel Rage, you're probably not going to be able to parse anymore, because yeah, you're doing normalized damage, so in theory you would be able to do the same damage that you would even if you didn't get Fel Rage. But the problem with that is, if you're a caster, you might get pushback, you might have to drain life because you're a warlock, you might have to put a shield on if you're melee, you're probably going to get parried if you're melee. There's like a lot of things that when you're tanking the boss, you can't do as much damage. So if this normalization sticks and stays for this new partition, you're probably just not going to be able to parse on Blood Boil. Now, it's still probably going to be a little bit more competitive than it is now, because right now you pretty much need to get Fel Rage or else you're just not going to parse. And that's kind of unfair, especially the people that get 2 Fel Rages, which is like really, really lucky, because the odds of getting 2 Fel Rages in a row is pretty low. But those people just got number 1 basically guaranteed to them. So I'm not sure how I feel about the normalization. I think it has some problems, but I think overall it will be more competitive. Although what I would have liked them to do is to just blacklist the person who gets Fel Rage, just make it so that they can't have a ranking, and just put them in a separate category, and that would solve all the problems. And you'd still be able to see like how much damage people do when they get Fel Rage, right? Because I mean, that's pretty cool to see. If somebody can do 5k DPS because they get Fel Rage twice, I want to see that. I don't want to compete against them, but I want to see it. So the next change is going to be Reliquary of Souls. They're just going to remove the intermission downtime from him. This should increase your damage on this boss, but it's not really going to have a big effect otherwise. Chickens, Battle Squawks are banned, of course. Archimon cheese is not allowed and will count as an invalid log. Now what this means is that there's actually there's some Chinese guilds that have been doing this, where they stood behind a root and it allowed them to all stack on top of each other, and they all get hit by air bursts, but they don't go anywhere because there's like a roof over their head, and they don't have to deal with any of the mechanics of the fight. They just stand there and DPS. And a lot of people had started to pick up on this strat where they do this and kind of skip all the mechanics of the fight. And so Blizzard actually fixed it, where if you stand under the root, you're just going to get silenced now. But the Chinese guilds have actually found out a new way to do it, where they stand behind this like weird stump. And by standing behind this weird stump, they can do the same thing essentially. So hopefully this change is reflected and actually invalidates the guilds who decide to basically exploit the game in order to do Archimon like tank and spank. So now this next change, adding the ads on Anatheron and Asgalor, like the Doom Guards and the Infernals, are excluded unless they die. This is the change that they did for Alar as well. It's pretty standard stuff, not a big deal. Most bosses have their ads set up this way because they don't want you to pad your damage with the cleave and then not kill those ads, because it's kind of just like you can not kill them on purpose just so that you can keep cleaving them, right? And Shade of Akama is going to be removed from All Stars, which makes totally makes a lot of sense because that fight is just all RNG. It's like a 1-minute fight. Only 20 seconds of it are spent on the boss, so it's all a dice roll. It's kind of like Viscidus in Classic. If any of you guys have played Classic, it's kind of like Viscidus, where if you want to parse, you got to kind of play it a little bit selfishly. So I'm alright with that. They're also changing so that the amount of life taps that you're allowed to do on a fight is going to be lowered because people are like cheesing their healing parses. But I mean, who really cares about healing parses? They don't mean anything. I don't think anybody out there actually cares about healing parses, and if they do, wow. I mean, that's pretty cringe. So obviously Khazragal and Morgrem are going to stay excluded from that check because life tap is very useful on those fights. Like Khazragal, you need the mana, and Morgrem, you life tap so that the Pally tank can heal you and get threat. Also, Mr. Pinchy's banned, and if you guys don't know, Mr. Pinchy is you fish it. It's like an item that you can fish. It's a crab, and you can summon him, and if you get, I think it's Benevolent Mr. Pinchy. He like when you use the item, he can be one of 3 different types. And if you get the Benevolent Mr. Pinchy, he has like a Sunder Armor ability. And people have been using this since Phase 1, but not consistently because it's very hard to like farm him because he's like a really low drop rate. And his Sunder Armor, he would put it up on the boss and it would stack with every other debuff. So it basically takes the boss down to 0 armor and just makes the fight a joke and makes you able to pump way more damage. So that's finally getting banned. I mean, I sent them an email about that back in Phase 1 and never heard anything about it. So I'm glad to see that Mr. Pinchy's finally getting banned, especially with all the armor penetration that people are starting to get on their gear, because all that armor penetration is wasted anytime you use Mr. Pinchy. You know, if you use Mr. Pinchy, you would just want to take off all your armor penetration and go without it. So I'm glad to see this change. What I want to know is, do you guys agree with these changes? Are you upset that Battle Squawk got banned? Is the Fel Rage normalization a big deal to you? Do you think it's going to be better or worse for competition? Do you think they should do something else? Do you think they should just blacklist the Fel Rage person? That kind of thing. Let me know down in the comments what you feel, and if you're digging these changes or not. And because, like I said, the most of these changes have not been voted for, but the Battle Chicken one did get voted for, and 80% of the community that voted decided to ban them. So if you agree with it or not, let me know in the comments. I'm not necessarily against it. I'm just upset because a lot of people in my guild want to keep using Battle Chicken, and there's kind of a tension there because they want to keep using it, and I actually care about my logs, and I want to keep submitting them. So I'm hoping that we can agree not to use them. But if we have to like alternate or something, that's fine with me too. But you know, I'd rather we didn't use them, and some people in my guild would rather that we did use them. And I kind of feel bad for the casters who might have their logs invalidated by us using chickens. So I don't know. Let me know in the comments how you feel about it, and let's move on. So I know most of you are thinking, how does this Battle Chicken change actually affect Ret as a class? And I'm just going to go into that real quick. There's basically only one way that it affects us, and that's in Sunwell Plateau. Jewel crafting is going to be a little bit better than engineering now on a single target boss, because the jewel crafting neck, Hardcore M Choker, that you can get in Sunwell is going to be just a little bit better than having a sapper on a single target boss. Now on fights like Maru and Kill Jaden, where you can get multiple targets with your sapper, the sapper is going to be a lot better, and probably going to pass that JC neck ability, but I'm not able to hit multiple targets with my sapper on the sim, so all I can do is sim the single target, and it's about 4 DPS better to go with the jewel crafting neck. Now of course, to go with the jewel crafting neck, you're gonna have to give up your rocket boots, your repair bots, all kinds of the engineering items that you love to use. You're gonna have to get rid of and no longer use. So I'm gonna stick with engineering. I've heard people say that engineering is Biss and Wrath for Ret, so that might be a good reason to stay engineering. You're not gonna take a big loss on single target by staying engineering. I mean, 4 DPS is like nothing, right? So, you know, all three professions are going to be viable, whether it's engineering, jewel crafting, enchanting. You probably should go enchanting no matter what. Jewel crafting and engineering are both going to be viable even without the chicken. Sappers are huge. NG goggles are huge early in Sunwell. You know, you get this new pair of NG goggles in the early weeks of Sunwell, and that's really big, especially if you don't have Curse Vision. It's a huge upgrade. So, you know, I'm gonna stay engineering. I know some people might go jewel crafting now because of the neck if they really want to min max. Leatherworking is still a good choice, especially in the early content, but it kind of requires you to get Coif of Valyria pretty early on, otherwise you're going to be like way over the hit cap. But it's still a viable choice, especially like later into Sunwell when you might have Coif of Valyria. So those are all viable options. Not a big change. You know, engineering is still a great profession even without the battle chicken, so most people are probably just going to stay engineering either way. And if you don't care about logs, you know, just use whatever you want. Continue using your battle chicken and squawking. If you don't care about the logs, then, you know, who's going to tell you what to do? Not me. So I hope you guys appreciated this video. I just want to make a, you know, short video, talk about these changes to WarcraftLogs and see what you guys actually thought about them. I know that chicken was a huge DPS boost for us specifically because we gained so much from haste, so it's really sad to see it go, but I understand why it's going, and I'm kind of happy in some ways because I don't like the RNG of hoping I get a squawk because I really want to parse and I can't parse without it. And so I kind of agree with the change for that reason. Although I wish that Blizzard did something else with chicken, like making it unstackable and guaranteed. I think that's the best way to do chicken. So you just get one buff and it's always guaranteed. You only need 1 or 2 engineers per group and it's way less OP, but you still get to have some fun with it. I think that's the best option, but it seems that Blizzard's not going to go with something like that, and they're just going to leave it how it is now, which is banned from the logs and not guaranteed. So if you guys don't like this change, you let me know in the comments. If you guys have any other issues, if you think WarcraftLogs is over regulating what people do and you think that they need to step back and stop dictating what people do so much, you know, let me know. And that's really it for this video. So I want to say thanks to you guys for watching. Sorry, I'm a little bit tired, so I'm kind of stumbling over my words here, but once again, thanks to my patrons, and next couple of days we'll have a log review coming up in the next couple of days. I got 2 or 3 log reviews to do, so they'll be going up, and we have some more raids in arena coming this weekend. So that's it. Thanks for watching, guys. Cheers.
This show was brought to you by Light Club, where monkeys go to church.